Welcome back to the Shift Flow. I am Dani.
And I'm Mo.
This is where practical advice intersects with spiritual guidance and so much more.
And we're two light workers who are on a mission to raise the collective consciousness.
Yes, we've created this container to serve as a safe space for us all to have conversations which lead toward your personal liberation, acceptance, and radical love of yourself.
So if you found this podcast, it's by no accident. You've been guided here because there's a part of you who's really ready to stop making excuses and start living the life that you've always imagined.
And you deserve it, and you are worthy of it. So join us here every Thursday. We're so excited to have you.
Yes, and welcome to your new community. So, be here with us and lean into it, and let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Shift Flow. I am Dani.
And I'm Mo.
And we are so excited to be here with you in a new fucking year.
Yes.
How wild is that? What is
so
it
crazy.
about time that we just cannot fully grasp the concept anymore? Like within the last few years, right? It's like a new year, a new year, a new year.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to see how much time has passed and how quickly, like it's almost ramped up. And then if we are to look back over the last 12 months of 2022, how much has changed?
Yeah,
personally, for me, for you, for the world, right?
Yeah, and I love that you lead us in with that because that's what we wanted to talk about today. Yeah. And this is something that I didn't always do before, is recaps of my 3 months at a time. I'll do that now. That's not something that I did before the Productivity Accelerator, but started doing after. And I just love the idea of looking back at the year that you've had. And like what we talked about, taking some lessons and maybe using some things moving forward. And then also just thinking about what we want next. So I think this is the perfect conversation to have. And so I'm glad that you wanted to talk about this week.
Yeah. We want to do a little 2022 recap for everybody and discuss the growth that we have had individually, together, collectively. Yeah, so a recap, right? Learning how to do that for ourselves. I think that is definitely where I ended up starting acknowledging more, thanks to Mackenzie. Like, let's plug Mackenzie into this as well. Mackenzie is the reason why Mo and I are connected. She took me under her wing a few years ago to be her little mentee, and she built a wildly successful business and productivity coaching company. And we met through that platform, and she really is one of the major, most important people in my life that really does that, like, affirmation, acknowledgement work. As a coach, as a friend, she's my sister, and I learned that from her. It's like, okay, we are stuck. A lot of us are stuck in this mindset of keep going, keep achieving, look forward. That puts you into a state of anxiety, that puts you into a state of fight or flight. You're not even present with what you have currently and what you have already achieved. So you're always reaching for more, and then in return, you're never fulfilled, right? Or you're never acknowledging how much progress you've had and how far you've really come. And I'm sure people hear that a lot, but it's really so essential for you to slow down and take a breath and look back. And of course, the new year is a great opportunity to do that. Before we look forward, let's look back. Let's look back at 2022. So for you, Mo, what was 2022 like? What did it encompass? Who were you in January, and who were you at the end of December?
Yeah. So, and I'll just say one of the reasons that, I can have this conversation. One of the reasons that I can go back is a tool that Mackenzie taught us, which is to go back through even just pictures or emails. And there's a lot of ways you can go back, I actually even look at my calendar sometimes, like what was I doing on certain days? And just as a, little reminder of what that was. So I actually did that today. And cool. And I went back through all my pictures and came up with just a list of things that were really huge for me. And so, starting in January, wow, the person that I am today. Oh, it really is.
It's a new one. It's a new version.
Yeah, and just there's been a lot of shifts for me this year, and one of the things I have lots of things, but let's just start. Maybe we go back and forth. One of the things that I decided for myself was if I wanted it to be extra, if I wanted to do the thing that was cringy, to just freaking do it, to just take those moments to really milk them for everything they've got. And one of the things that I did this year that was really fun, we decided that we were going to go to a swing dance class on Valentine's Day. This was one of the first cute little things that we did this year. Yeah. And one of my friends leads it. She's an amazing dancer. Oh my gosh. And I actually went with another couple who she's a dancer too. And I was like, hey, what we should do? We should buy old school outfits, like 50s style outfits. And then maybe we go take pictures before in like this little candy shop. And so then we just like did this whole extra as fuck. It was so extra. And we had ice cream cones and I had a photographer come. I mean, it was ridiculous and amazing. And it was just, we literally it became this whole event. And it could have just been another night. And that's just one example of, I've wanted to do that. I've thought in my head multiple times, I want to just pump up the volume on all these moments in life that, they could be little and they could be fun and it could be great. But I had this idea in my head of what I think would be great. And so one little tip I have for everyone is if you have something that is extra AF, and you're like, oh, people are going to think she's so cringy or she's delusional. Yes, maybe I am. Maybe I am delusional, but I'm having a blast. So anyway, that's just one of the things that I took away from this year. How about you? What's one thing that you took away from this year?
Oh, I love that so much. I mean, I was talking to the beautiful individual that I've been spending a lot of time with
so recently.
And we were just saying how we just want an experience in everything, right? We want to listen to music. And this is how I've always been. And I think talking to somebody, a male counterpart that mirrors that back to you is so, number one, rare, and number two, incredibly refreshing to be like, I just want to do it all. Yes. I want to do it all, and thinking back, that's how I've kind of always been. However, I did limit myself for a really long time, right? For whatever circumstances, money, love, confidence, whatever it might be. And I would say this year started out in a lot of pain. Because I was trying to re-enter a relationship that was clearly over. Okay. I was, I had left in the end of 2021, because of infidelity. And then I came back because I was living there and all my stuff was there. And however, I needed that because I came back and then, realized a few weeks in, this is not for me, right? Yeah. This is not for me. So that was the beginning. And I had a really beautiful moment with my grandma in the beginning of the year with my grandma and my dad. And we went to Vegas for the ASU football game at the new Raiders stadium. And that was really incredible because we had 3 generations of ASU students. I mean, my dad and my family and my Nana was a diehard fan. And right after we got back from that trip, we got to see the ASU marching band. She got to take pictures with one of the lead players. I don't really know what position he is, but and we just had a blast. And then when she got back, that's when she started declining and she passed away.
Oh, wow.
So I was able to there was a lot of loss in 2022 for me.
Yeah.
There was a lot of loss. And most of that loss was really remarkable and really incredible in many ways, because it was things that needed to be shed.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't being my most authentic expression of who I am and the life I wanted to live. But being able to have that memory with her and my dad and nobody else, right? It was just us three kind of wrapping up the end of her life with her and doing something she was incredibly passionate about, which was watching ASU football, even though we lost. They couldn't have just done it for Nana. You know what I mean? Like, do it for Nana.
Dare they?
Yeah, right? Just so rude. That was a really refreshing moment, because I feel like the end of 2021 is when families started more deeply connecting with each other. More so than we had since childhood. And that was really beautiful. And then that led into that moment with her in Las Vegas, and, you know, really recognizing how important family was, because I had ran away from it for a really long time, because it's uncomfortable for many different reasons.
Yeah.
And leaning into that. And then as the weeks went on into February, realizing there's that inner gypsy calling for me.
Yeah.
There she is. She's been quiet for a while because I wasn't listening to her. That gypsy soul that I've always had, you know, that people have pointed out to me and said, you know, I'm surprised you're not in the Peace Corps, or I'm surprised you're not living in Bali, or whatever it was. Starting to reconnect with her and recognizing I haven't wanted to live in this country for a decade.
Yeah.
So what the fuck am I going to do about it? Because the time is now. I quit my job. I quit a couple jobs. I lost, my relationship crumbled beneath me. I lost friendships because my relationship got rocky, and there were people that I thought that were always going to be there, but I realized they were only there for the good times. And when I showed shiny sunshine Dani, and not, Dani goes through hard times too, and can't always be the ball of sunshine. So there was a lot of loss in the beginning of the year, but it led me to realizing it's time to choose me.
Yeah.
And I mean really choosing me. I don't care what anybody has to say. That little gypsy soul was like, it's time to go to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And I was so definitive in my answer. So many people try to be like, what are you doing? You're crazy. Are you kidding me? Like, so much fear, so much projection, so much, so many people trying to direct me off of my authentic path.
Yeah.
And so the beginning of the year, I said, number one, I'm choosing it. Number two, I'm keeping it to myself for a while until I have a definitive plan. And number three, there's nothing anybody can do to stop me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that you say keeping it to yourself, because I think that's a really great lesson out there for anybody who you share something with other people, and immediately you hear those, and then that's what that is. That's projection. So this is just me saying, hey, pay attention to this part, because it's really huge. If this is not something that you've learned yet, or maybe you're just starting to learn, or maybe you've learned it in high five, but that's huge. It's so important because I used to be someone who always just wanted to tell everybody everything, all these great ideas that I had, And also people don't have the vision you have. And so you can't always expect for them to be able to see what you're saying. And so I think that's a beautiful lesson. And I love what you said about your family. That's literally something I put down on my list as well. This year I started reprioritizing family, because I've had a lot of distance between me and most of my family, immediate family included, for a while, honestly. And we can talk about that, some other time, which sounds
we're
like
gonna
would
have
be
a
great
whole family discussion.
And and so this year I literally another thing that we learned from Mackenzie is if it's not on your calendar, it's not important. And so I put on my calendar a recurring reminder to schedule time with my family. And so this year I started doing that. And what came out of it, and as I was going through my pictures today, I was going through and seeing pictures with my nieces and how we're creating really special memories, and how, you know, I've taken some time to spend time with my mom and my dad and my sister. And, you know, and sometimes I have that piece of me that's like, is this enough? You know, that guilt or shame that, you know, pops in as it does sometimes for me. Is it enough? And then this week I went through, or today actually, went through some of those pictures. And so I love what you said about prioritizing time with family, because, you know, however it feels right for you, that's how it started to feel right for me. Is maybe it's not all the time as they may or may not want, or maybe I don't go to the holidays, or maybe I don't go to their houses or do all the things. But I do, when I am intentional with them, it's special, and I have memories to prove it, you know. And I think that's super important. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting, the correlation, right? When you prioritize yourself and when you choose to look at, okay, how am I viewing this before I enter in, right? Because a lot of me in the past, and rightfully so, would kind of create this story prior to entering an event, right? Or prior to having some sort of experience. And let's just use family as an example of like, oh, they've been this way in the past, they're always going to be this way, so I'm going to go in, it's going to be this way, and that's how it's always going to be, right? And that is something I also really started to work on within the last year, is, okay, I want to get closer to my family. I do. And there's some people I don't. There's some people that just, you know, and that's totally okay. Let's remind everybody that you're not obligated, especially if there's a lot of trauma and a lot of abuse or betrayal or whatever it is for you. You're not obligated to be close with your family members. I don't care if it's your mom, your dad, your brother, your cousin that you are not close with, if they have mistreated you consistently in the past. It doesn't matter the depth of the connection or the relation that you have with somebody. So you're not obligated, right? Yeah. But for us, looking at where we're at on the healing journey, you and I, realizing that the most triggers lie in that dynamic and in the family unit, right? So going back can be really painful, but also really healing. And knowing that when you paint that picture of the experience that you have yet to enter into based off of the past, you don't give yourself room to experience something new, and you also don't give others room to change or grow.
Exactly.
You kind of keep them the same, right? And it's really interesting how that all went hand in hand, and it was a choice of, I guess, back to my roots, right? Like back to my roots, back to my family, back to me. Who am I? Where do I come from? You know, learning more about my grandma, learning more about my dad's childhood, which was really traumatic for him. My mom's as well. You know, I come from a lineage of abuse and betrayal and alcoholism on both sides. Yeah. And also, I think a big lesson for people here, and I want to say this, I've said it before and I will say it again and again and again. I don't regret how things went down with my relationship. I was in it for almost 4 years, about 4 years, 4.5 years, give or take some time. I will say, 2 years in, and also at the beginning of the relationship,
usually it is that way, right?
there is always an intuition there.
Yeah.
This isn't my person. Yeah. This is not my person.
Yeah.
And about 2 years in, it was like, ain't it? It really ain't it, you know? But I kept going, and 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 it got more heavy and more sticky and there was more resistance and more stress and more miscommunication. It just kept piling, more verbal abuse, whatever it is. And I will say, the more you allow yourself to be misguided off of your path, the more likely the universe is, or God, or whatever you want to call it, the more likely something will intervene. Mm-hmm. And I say this analogy a lot, right? It's like you hear the whispers, and they're like, no, don't, you gotta go.
Yeah.
It's time to leave. And then they start talking, they're like, hey, you should look at this. I don't think it's right. You aren't going in the same direction. Look at how you've grown apart. And then it turns into a full-on blowhorn scream. And if you don't listen to the scream, the universe will say, all right, I gave you an opportunity to listen to your intuition, maybe 100, maybe 1,000. Now, unfortunately, I have to insert what I like to call the pain teacher and blow something up in your life so you redirect back to where you were meant to go. And that's exactly what happened. You know, the universe was like, oh, what's your non-negotiable? Cheating? Okay, here you go. Like you said, listen, I gave you so many chances. And now, unfortunately, I have to insert this trauma so you walk away. And I think that's a big takeaway too. Listen to that intuition. It will never lead you astray. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful for... There was another relationship in 2022 too. I'm so grateful for both of those. Both of those were extremely traumatic. The endings, I should say. The endings were really traumatic. But I'm grateful because now I'm like, as soon as I get a bing,
You're like, oh?
Yeah, I'm going to listen. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I would like to see people not have to go through that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and you know, I think it's so important now to note, just speaking of tools that can help, I have found, because I have found that happened to me, that if you don't have a great spiritual hygiene practice, it's harder to hear those voices because you're not in touch with the way they sound or how subtle they can be. And the more you're in touch, so this is just for everyone listening, the more you're in touch with those voices or that voice, the more you're in touch with yourself, the easier it is to hear. And so maybe, do you think we could just chat for just a quick second about things that you can do to get better at hearing that voice? Because I think a lot of people are like, I think I'm listening nice, but the world is so busy. We are so busy. Most of the time, like you said at the very beginning of this conversation, we're going. We don't even have time to slow down to celebrate how far we have come. How are we going to hear that voice? So what do you think would be a good way to start tapping into that? Where's a good starting point?
Yeah. Well, you have to slow down. You don't have a choice. Sorry about that. You have to.
You'll be glad when you do. You'll be glad when you do.
Yeah. You can't be in your body and listening to your body's intelligence and wisdom and intuition when you're not present. It's just not possible. You will be in your mind and you will be overly logical, operating in fight or flight, and you won't even be able to hear the answers, that are always coming through to you. I would say the first thing that came to mind is you have to clear your vessel. You have to prioritize and optimize your health, because this is a whole tangent, and I will do my best to make it really short and to the point. However, everything that we are told to consume helps to detach us from our powers and our wisdom and our abilities, our body's abilities, right? So if you're eating shitty food and it's got thousands of ingredients and it's a burger from McDonald's that can literally be good for 2 years on the shelf or whatever it is, chlorinized water with added chemicals into it, your body is going to feel so stressed out that you won't even be able to drop into yourself. So it starts with physical. It starts with clearing your vessel. This is not easy work. I am lucky to have had a very strong intuition my whole life, and I believe that a lot of people do. It's this pull. It's this energetic pull. It's this ping. And this friend of mine the other day said, how do you know the difference between intuition and fear? And I've thought about this a lot, and I don't think I've ever fully come to like the proper conclusion. But he said, intuition is just a yes or a no. Fear comes in with the logical mind and it goes, what about this? And what about this? Fear starts to encroach and creep in and say, but have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? That's the ego. That's fear. But what about this part? The intuition is typically the first answer that you get. And then when you try to dissect it and dive deeper, that's your ego and your logical mind trying to understand on a deeper level so that it can redirect you and keep you safe.
Yeah.
Safe. Right? Quote unquote safe. So through the body, through practice, and through starting to decipher those two types of things that are always giving us information, always providing us with information. The ego also tries to create a story. The intuition just says, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I love what you say about the difference, because I think, or what Ryan said about the difference, because you also start feeling confused. And I think the moment you're starting to get a little unsure, that's a good sign that you're listening to a lot of voices, in your head. And also, like what you said, there's also just a feeling, just what feels right to me in this moment if I just breathe. So I think breathing could really be great for, even if you like, that most people I talk to, they're like, I know I should eat healthier. So if you're not there yet and you have some goals and you're working on it, great. You can also slow down and breathe and just what feels in my body, it may be harder to hear sometimes, but if you slow down enough and you breathe deep and you just check in with yourself and quiet the noise of everything around you, you can start to feel what's right for you. And you can, and honestly, like what you said about the relationship, I feel like you may have heard it louder than others, but I would also venture to say most people have heard it and they're like, but what am I talking about? Is that just my fear? Probably not.
Exactly. Yes. I agree 100%. I don't think I'm like, I'm the most powerful. No. I think we all have this.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, the moon is literally rising over this white-capped mountain right now. This looks insane. It's about to be
full moon
in
Cancer.
Anyways.
My season.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to cry so much. I'm so excited for that. We're going to do a ceremony. Little plug. We're doing full and new moon ceremony. So if you're ever interested about that, you know where to find us.
You know where to find us.
Yeah. So encompassing this last year, 2022, fun fact, the year of the lovers, the year of soulmate connections. So 2022, add that up in numerology, it equals 6. 6, the 6th card in the tarot deck is the lovers. So there's also been a lot of soulmate connections, for better or for worse, soul contracts. You and I are one of them, right?
Yeah.
Like soul sisters, which is really beautiful. Our tribe is coming together and being pushed together magically through so much love, and because we have chosen ourselves this last year and we're continuing to do that. It's opening up so many connections and so many experiences. And I want to go back to the first thing that you said, which is kind of just about expression, right? Like just expressing yourself in whatever way you want.
Yeah.
I feel like I really tapped into that as well this year, because I shut parts of myself down in the relationship that I was in. I mean, just to give you an example, the entire house was gray, black, white, brown. He would only wear black, white, gray. Okay? I would be like, I want to dress up in this and wear red and just be like the most extra exaggerative, dramatic person that I've always been, because like I said, live life to the fullest, right?
Yeah.
And I stopped getting tattoos. I took out my piercings, like all of these things. I was like, okay, I'll listen to you for love.
Yeah.
You know? And I lost myself in that.
You became gray.
And so I became gray. Like I literally, when I got to Costa Rica, I realized how many neutral pieces of clothes I had.
That's so
and
funny.
I was like,
I don't see you that way at all. That's so hilarious.
Right. Because I've changed it a lot recently, because I'm getting back in touch with that. But I was like, oh my God, I have so many pieces of black. I have so many pieces of gray and blue and dark green. And when you're in Costa Rica, it's this magical fairyland of bright neon colors, red, bright blue, orange, yellow, green. And so it was the perfect place for me, because I realized with that contrast, like my suitcase, what I was wearing versus what was like out in town and all the buildings and all the artwork, I was like, holy shit, I forgot how much I love color.
Yeah.
And how much I love tattoos. So I got a shit ton of tattoos, you know? And I think that's definitely another thing, is like, okay, how have I changed myself in the past for somebody else to feel comfortable?
Yeah.
But muting myself in the process. And you and I both tapped into that this last year. How can I let my voice roar unapologetically? How can I wear whatever the fuck I want? How can I express myself with so much love and be so boisterous and not care what Sally and Jim think? You know what I mean?
I'm so glad you brought that up.
An impact on happiness and on love and on your relationships and on the world.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you say, because you were talking about a relationship, and then you mentioned Sally and Jim, which Sally and Jim is literally everyone. And I believe that a lot of people, and I know this because I've actually got some messages this week about it, which is just amazing, about people who are wanting to be more confident and dress a certain way and have and they had complimented me, and they said, I see myself wearing different clothes, but I there's still fear about society and what society will think about you. And of course, again, I've mentioned this before, I live in the Midwest, and so it's conservative around where I live, especially in dress. And I saw there's a lot of fear around what will people think, if I wear a crop top, And so I think, again, it's so important, and for me, for you, and anyone who's listening to this or watching this, if you're thinking you should, you have to, because other people will see you and it will give them permission. So if you can't do it for yourself, do it for other people. And of course you will, it will come, but also the confidence in that really is just the choice that I'm just going to do this anyway, and start small. Maybe you don't wear a crop top, day one. Maybe it's just something a little off, or even these glasses. I mean, how many people look at me and they're like, "Whoa, those are some wild glasses."
I love them. They're so cool.
Oh my God,
they are sick.
I feel like an art dealer every time I wear them.
Yes, and you are, baby. You're dealing your own type of art.
It is.
I love it.
I do too. So I think, you know, if you're out there thinking, do something a little weird, and I promise you, each weird choice you make, it's going to make that next weird choice so much easier. And then all of a sudden you're on the top of Weird Mountain, and you're going to be the queen of it, and everybody's going to be your weird little, you know, minions, and it's going to be amazing. You know what I mean? So I think it's more like not weird minions. You can have a community of weirdos that you're around, which is really what I mean. But I just
love the weirdos.
Me too, and you'll find people the more
you ain't
you
weird,
do.
you ain't from me.
Same. And I think that's just the thing. We're all weird inside. It just, how much permission are you giving yourself to be weird? So anyway, I love what you say about Sally and Jim. Fuck them. And not fuck them, but they'll like see you living your life, and they're going to be a little triggered.
Fuck them with love.
But you know what's funny though too? I'll say one thing I've learned this year is all the things that I thought would happen if I did something, nobody's saying anything. There's not
nobody said shit.
Nobody said anything to me. And if they're talking about me behind my back, it's just because there's probably a part of them that wants to do it too, and they just haven't quite given themselves permission. But they're watching, and you will affect them, and it's huge. So I just love that. It feels like a powerful point.
Absolutely. That is the work of what we do.
Yeah.
Right? It's the work of unbecoming everything that society told us to be, because we knew deep down there was something that was off. There was something that wasn't right, that wasn't resonating, that wasn't aligning with who we are at our core. And so you know who you are, and a good way to tap back into that is to think about yourself when you were younger. Who were you when you really didn't care? Who were you when you were a kid running around doing whatever you were doing? What did you love to do? Reconnect with that younger version, because once you're able to heal that and pull that through, and then that inner child, that inner teenager has that space to express again, you'll start to find out who you were, and who you will continue to be out of love for yourself and out of desiring to create that openness for others, that non-judgmental space for yourself, so that you can create that for others as well. And then it gives them the room to explore and express. And that is what this life is about. It's about finding all of your edges. It's about finding all of those things that light you up, about discovering new and maybe old, suppressed aspects of yourself that you hid out of need for or desire for acceptance from others. Find your edges, find your passions, and keep exploring until the day that you die, so that when you end up on that bed, that deathbed, you can look back and really not have any regrets. Right? And I think that's what you and I are doing, is we are trailblazing that for ourselves. We don't want to settle. We never want to settle. And we don't want anybody else to settle either. We want to see this new world that's coming in through spirituality and a higher consciousness and a more open, loving perspective. The frequency of love is what is happening right now. We are anchoring that into the planet, and it is disrupting all of the fucking systems that have been placed here out of fear and out of desire to control. And it starts with us. It starts with us breaking through our own fears, expressing ourselves, realizing that we clipped our own wings. We clipped our own wings. And I have this new connection in my life. And he says, I don't want to clip your wings. I want you to fly. I want you to be you, and I want you to go all the places that you want to go. And I'm going to too. And I love every little aspect about you. Everything. Every quirk, every time I'm clumsy or I trip or I drop something or whatever it is, given love. that is given love and support. Every part of my shadow, every part that in the past I was told to hide and not acknowledge and suppress, is being loved from myself first. Mm-hmm. The only reason this person came into my life is because I started loving all of that and accepting all of that first. That's the only way. And then now this person mirrors back the love that I give to myself and the love that I give to others, which is be whoever you are and whoever you want to be. And I will love that for you.
Yeah.
And so it's not even just about it's not even just about the self. It's also about what you call in when you choose that for yourself.
Exactly right.
A love that you did not even know existed. A love that you can't even wrap your logical mind around because there are no words to truly express what it is. And I think that's all of the soulmate connections that have come in this year. Romantically, friendship, sister, soul family. Like, we are creating shit together. Yeah. We are changing the fucking world together because we chose to love and express ourselves even with that fear present.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love so much that you say that because I think that's really huge for some people. I actually had a conversation with someone this week who talked about the fear of who she would lose in the process of becoming who she is. And that is a fear. I
lost a lot of people in 2022.
And I'm sure throughout your life, as have I. You know, and what's so funny though is if you look back at the people, if every single person who's listening or watching, if you look back to the people that you've lost thus far, because we're always evolving, I'm sure they're probably, most of them, you're like, yeah, they don't make sense in my life anymore. Of course. Well, that's the same story that you'll be telling yourself once you're in that place, or just honestly, it's not even a place that exists in the future. It's a thing and a place that exists right now if you choose it in this moment. Every single choice that you make, every single small choice that you make that is geared toward loving yourself and embracing who you really are and the full expression, that calls to you even in those micro choices. That calls even, it's amazing what that will call to you. So I really appreciate that you said that because I think that's a lot of hope for people who have a lot of fears around those who are going to be triggered by them, those people who may say things to them, but they probably won't. And then also those people that just shift out of your life. Yeah. Because who will shift into your life is going to help blow your mind and take you to the place that you're trying to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you feel how I'm feeling about you right now through the screen?
Oh, you're so sweet.
I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
I am so proud of you. And I'm so proud of the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
And
you're going to make me cry.
I'm tearing up right now. Moon. Yeah. And think about it. I want everybody that's listening right now to look at the relationship that Mo and I have. I think there's people that could stumble upon this podcast that have never received affirmation, validation, or being seen, really seen for who they are by anybody in their lives.
Yeah.
It's incredibly rare. And Mo and I have done and continue to do coaching work, healing work. We're friends. We're building things together, and we see each other fully. This is one of the most special relationships I have in my life, and I know that it's going to be for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You know?
And we've never even met. Isn't that amazing?
So... I know, I was going to say, we've never physically met. Okay? This is so wild. We've never met in person, but, you know, our souls know each other, and it's just natural. It's just flowed. It's shifted and flowed beautifully.
It really has.
And yeah, I'm just so impressed with who you're becoming and how much fear you have broken through and how many people you've chosen to release, and knowing, trust falling into the hands of the universe of like, okay, I know this isn't for me. It doesn't feel good. This is a lot of pain and it's continuous pain. Yeah. And I know I deserve better. And I think that's a beautiful thing to talk about really quickly before we head into like 2023. What's going on? Let's wrap up 2022, right? I feel like we should discuss, and we're going to have a whole podcast around relationships and deep connection and communication, but what does it feel like when you're starting to be pushed out of a relationship? When it's starting to no longer flow and there's not a reciprocal dynamic, or if you've never even experienced a reciprocal dynamic, what is a reciprocal dynamic, right? What does it feel like when you know you're supposed to be releasing somebody for your life so that somebody new and more supportive can enter?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the quick answer, and I'll also add that I had a full-on spiritual awakening this year that I want to thank you for helping me through. My gosh. And so you really start to feel the relationships not make sense in that moment. It's like hard, it's undeniable.
Yeah.
But for me, what I would say just in everyday life without having a full-on spiritual awakening, first in conversation. I mean, that's one of the places I first know it. I'm just like, I feel zombied out. I'm not listening to anything they're saying, and it's like I'm trying, but I'm disassociating really pretty quickly, or just loss of interest in. And honestly, it's hard because it feels like a depression, and you're like, what's wrong with me? That's a question you might ask yourself. At least for me, that's how it goes. What's wrong with me? And why am I not?
And maybe there's nothing wrong.
No, there's nothing wrong.
Party. Right. It's just not.
It's what you think.
Working.
Yeah. And you'll feel that way. And that's why I want to say it that way, because it's not what's happening. And always, if you think to yourself, what's wrong with me? That's always an indicator that nothing's wrong with you and something may need to change. But that was the question that I would have. Exactly. And that's usually how it starts, is like, what's wrong with me? Why are people looking at me like I'm weird? And why do I seem not to relate to anyone? Or even just you feel that people
none of this is landing.
None of it's landing. And they also are not, you're not relating to them. They're not relating to you. And for me, that's usually where it starts. How about you? Where do you notice it? Or with your clients, where have you seen it?
Typically when or multiple interactions, let's say with one individual, right? Over and over and over again, creates stress and friction and anxiety rather than peace, tranquility, supportive, positive energy exchange. So it's like you try to talk to them, right? And they just don't understand. Yeah. Because your perspective has shifted. And you're not who you were when you met them. And so this starts to, especially, this is a really big one. And this has to go with when I lost some friends, when my relationship crumbled and I literally had like nothing and nowhere to go, which is a part of one of my really deep wounds is I don't have really a family home. I've got my dad's in Utah, but I mean, like in the place that I was born, I don't have like mom and dad home to greet me whenever I need. It's just not like that. Yeah. And so I don't rely, but when I was more insecure towards the beginning of the year, I was like expecting, my friends to follow through with, hey, if anything ever happens, you can stay here. I know what it's like. You can stay here. And then those friends that had said that just dissipated into thin air. They ran away. Man. They weren't there. And it's like actions versus words too, right? So how is somebody saying that they're going to show up for you and then they aren't? And when they do, it creates stress And also when you start to realize these power dynamics, which are very common in relationships, like somebody has the power and you kind of do whatever they say because you're the people pleaser and you want to please them and you want to hold on to that friendship for dear life. That is not healthy, sis, bro.
Yeah.
No, that's not healthy. So once you start to recognize, oh, there's power dynamics in my relationships, and you start to go on to that self-love journey, that self-confidence journey, and then you start to realize, you start to heavily rely on yourself and trust yourself in doing that, you start to gain your own power. And then when you reconvene with these people and you're in a place of power and not codependency, that shifts things. And they're like, oh, I can't control her. I can't manipulate her with affirmations. I can't, I can't dangle the carrot and she follows me wherever I go, because she's making her own decisions now because she's secure within herself. That's a big one.
It is a big one. You're right.
Yeah. So,
and it's an awkward feeling.
Those are all pretty clear indicators.
Yeah.
Oh, it's super awkward. Definitely. And it's actually really cool though, when you can come back to relationships that maybe you hadn't, seen in a while, and you're like, these are truths that I was terrified to speak. Here they are. You made me feel like shit when you did this.
Yeah.
And I'm not attached to you being in my life or not, but you have to know how this made me feel. And I forgive you. I've experienced way worse. Why would I hold this against you? We're all human. But this has happened, and this is happening in the group, and it's not cool, and I will not stand for it.
Yeah.
That is an incredible place to be in for me.
Yeah.
Because I've never been that way until this year.
Yeah. Well, and I'll add to that, just speaking back to what we started the conversation with about tapping into yourself and listening to yourself and having that awareness and knowing in your heart what is right for you. The same goes in these situations. Right. So, just thinking about who you want to be in the expression of the way you want to embody the you that you see. These things will also come with that, and that power to not continue to be in relationships that make you feel terrible or disrespect you on a regular basis and don't seem to, give an F. Or maybe it's subtle, and maybe it's just a relationship that no longer makes sense. When you can practice some of these things
it can be subtle,
and get in that place of power, you can experience the ability to move through those, and like you said, either let that person know, hey, here's an opportunity. If you want to be in my life, this is what it requires, or it looks like we're done here, and so some people, I think, can't wrap their mind around being able to do that, but it's very possible for you. I believe that. There's nothing you can tell me otherwise, and I know it's a fact. So don't tell me it's not.
Yeah.
Not you, Dani, but everybody listening.
No, I love that. Are you kidding me? Go for it. I'm like, yes, give me all that. It's welcome here. Don't you worry. Yeah, I think it's so hard for me to comprehend how much fear there is in speaking our truth. Right? Yeah. There's so much fear in speaking truth. And something to leave you guys with and take with you into 2023 is the people that are for you will hear you. They will honor your perspective, even if they don't agree with it. They will take the time to actively listen and accept your thoughts, feelings, and experience. And the people that won't will get triggered, and they will project onto you. And they will continue to blame you and make everything your fault.
Yeah.
Those are not people that are going to lift you up in your journey through this crazy, wild, beautiful, magnificent, magical, and mildly chaotic life. Those are not people that will those are not people that are going to help you progress. They are anchors. They are pulling you down, but they're also here to teach you a lesson on how to release that anchor and move forward.
Yeah.
And in that, you could also very well, like similar to what you said earlier, not to focus on yourself if you're having a difficult time being like, this is for me. You could be enabling them staying.
Yeah. You
could be enabling their behavior and their patterns because they are a stronger energy or more dominant energy or, you know, more controlling energy so that they've never experienced repercussions for their actions, and you leaving their life will force them to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
So not only are you going to benefit from it, they could benefit from it as well. And there is a potential that they could change without your presence constantly enabling their toxic behaviors and patterns. So,
yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. And I'd love to add, oh, go ahead.
No, please keep going.
I also want to remind everyone that if you feel like it's your job to convince or argue, that's also a really good sign. And just know that is never, and let me know if you disagree, but that is never a sign of a relationship that is supposed to be in your life. You know what I mean? I mean, it's okay to have your arguments here or there, but they shouldn't repeat. You know, if you blow up and there's an accident, learning moment, right? But that should get less and less. And that should not happen. That's not normal. And we've normalized that. So I just want to say, you know, if it's popular and everybody seems to disagree with whatever it is that you are and believe and who you're becoming, know that that's not always an answer that you're wrong. And you don't have to convince anybody of anything. If it's right for you, it's right for you. And so that's just a little tag on to that I'd like to add because we are a culture of convincers and arguers sometimes, you know, and also just the media, what you see reflected in the media, just because your life experience or the one that you want to call into your experience isn't something that you see a lot, that's great. That's actually great. You know what I mean? Pay attention to what you consume, pay attention to who you're around. And just because other people think what they think and want to project onto you, that doesn't mean it's right. And that doesn't mean it's evidence that you are moving in the wrong path. And that may be used against you, and that's okay. You know better. You know it, you feel it. So I just encourage you to continue to follow that. So.
Yeah.
That's all I've got to say about that.
That's all I've got to say about that. I like what you said about if you like it, like accept it into your life, right? Lacey Phillips, she's a podcaster as well. She's a manifestation coach. She's really big now. But she calls those things that like open our mind to a new perspective and to a new opportunity expanders. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, wow, I've never experienced a healthy, reciprocal, supportive, loving, dynamic or relationship in my life, use this and what Mo and I are creating and speaking on as an expander for your consciousness of what you believe is possible. Because now you're seeing it, now you're experiencing it, now you're feeling it, and now you can move on into your life knowing that's kind of always what I wanted. Didn't know it existed. Now I do, and so I know it's possible.
Yeah.
Right? That's the beautiful game of life, is continuing to experience new things, right? It's almost like get yourself in the room with the smartest people. Get yourself in the room with the wealthiest people. Get yourself in the room with the most loving, accepting humans. Because then you'll have all of that.
Yeah.
You'll learn from it and you'll have all of that eventually.
I love that. And can I ask you a question to just elaborate? Because I am obsessed with this. Okay. Yeah. So I recommend that if you're feeling this way, especially about relationships, because I really believe a lot of us have felt this in the past or we're currently experiencing it. Saying out loud or writing down on a piece of paper, putting it into your regular daily, process or just getting up in the morning or wherever you want to stick it. Saying, I want to stick it. I call into my life healthy reciprocal relationships or whatever you want to say, because, will you explain this part? your brain, if you say it out loud and you say that's what you want and you say that's a life that you have, your brain's going to go to work on figuring that out. And that's the beauty of it all. You don't have to be sitting down trying to map it out and figuring it out every single day. Your brain will do a lot of the work if you speak this type of language into your life. Can you share a little bit about what's happening, just so that everybody knows, like, what the power of that? It's so simple, and you can do it today.
And we're going to do it.
We're going to do it in 2023.
We're going to do it. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between your imagination and your reality. Your subconscious mind is always listening to your thoughts. It's always listening to you. And is always taking in your external reality as well. So when you say affirmations over and over and over and over and over again, thank God for neuroplasticity, which is the ability to literally create new neural pathways, new connections between neurons in the brain, new beliefs in your belief system. So when you are putting it on a Post-it note and reading it every morning, I am calling in, or I am experiencing open, loving, reciprocal communication and connection in my life, you will start to create that neural pathway in your mind, in your belief system, and then it will start to attract it into your reality. So for me, it was about trusting and surrendering and always ending up right where I was supposed to be. So 2022 was about trusting and surrendering. I trust that I will always make it out or make it through whatever I need to make it through. If you guys saw what I went through in 2022, you would be surprised. Honestly, you would be surprised. And validating that over and over again. I trust, I surrender. I trust there's something in this for me. I surrender to any outcome. I surrender the outcomes that I desire to the universe. I let go of my desired outcomes over and over and over again. And I made it out more secure, more in love with myself, more in love with my life, more trusting of external forces, more powerful than I ever have been in my gifts, in my business, because I validated myself with that over and over and over again. Trust and surrender. So validate yourself with the beliefs, even if you don't have them yet, with the beliefs that you want to have over and over and over again. Everything is a practice. You have to be consistent with it. I promise you will get to the point where Mo and I are at, where we're like, I have $1 million idea. Cool, let's do it. Cool, let's make $1 million.
Exactly.
It's already happening. Got it. Like, you can get to that point where it's that easy.
Yeah.
And then you're living this life where you're like, holy shit, I did not know this was possible, but we're doing it.
Yep.
And I have everything I've ever wanted. And it only continues to grow more and more and more. I remember being at the festival this last weekend, Speak About Expression. I was the most Dani has ever been. And
I
the
love that.
outfits,
Yay.
pink hair, bedazzled, dancing my ass off, being so free, making all the noises. And I remember in some of the moments just getting like a little overwhelmed in the crowd or whatever it was, and being able to instantly redirect myself and say, everything's okay. It's exactly as it should be. This is the best night ever. I'm so, whatever you had to do, you get to that point where you have the awareness in that moment and you immediately get to rewrite your thoughts.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So what was your intention for 2022, and what is your intention moving into this new year?
What's funny, I was going back through all my pictures, and I don't know that I had an intention, honestly. I really don't. I don't know that I was in a place of, I had intentions like
naturally.
Weekly. You know what I mean? Like I would journal, and here's what's so beautiful. This year has shaken up the way, because my life has changed a lot. We didn't even get into all of it. But multiple times I've shifted the way my day flows, the way my schedule looks. I think it could be another episode for sure. but lots of huge shifts. And so multiple times the way I looked at my days would change. And so I had a practice of, every day, just like setting an intention and practicing segment intending. That was huge for me this year. Every time I go into a new room, who do I want to be? What do I want to feel? What am I going to see? Segment intending was huge for me this year. Oh, yes. It was so good. And so setting an intention, and knowing that I could do that in every second, that changed my life. So maybe that's what it was. More than an intention, it was just setting
intentions,
real purpose, and just setting intention. So, I could go to the bathroom and be like, you know what, I've been having a shitty night. I'm going to change that when I walk out of this door. When I walk out of this door, I'm not going to see anything negative. I'm going to see all the things that I like. I'm going to notice the things that I like. I'm going to say what I like. I'm going to say, oh, I love this environment. Oh, instead of focusing on those negative things, because that's a downhill spiral. This year, I decided instead, look for all the things I like, and envision the things that I want to see. And it radically changed my life, and also let go of my expectation. I let go of expectation like crazy this year, and it's been huge. Like what you said, what I think the outcome should be. Rather, I have an intention for what I want, and also being willing to allow the universe, God, source to put me exactly where I'm supposed to be, and radically accept whatever happens, knowing that must be what I'm supposed to experience, so looking at everything as, okay, this must, I'll say this much. I got into Stoicism this year. I stumbled into it. And one thing I say to myself all the time is amor fati, loving my fate. And so anytime something crazy happens, me and Dave were in an accident this year in a brand new Lexus. On the way home, we hadn't even had the car. It was like a little over 1,000 miles, right?
Wow.
And neither one of us got upset. It was the most peaceful moment I can imagine. We were both just like, okay, well. And what was amazing is we just came from this beautiful trip. Yeah, we were, it was a road trip. We went to get it, and the whole idea was road trip home in it, And it was like 30 miles before we were home. And honestly, both of us laughed. We both thought it was hilarious. We were like, what the fuck? This is why we have insurance. But it was a really beautiful moment for both of us to realize just how far we've come, because we were like, because we both are huge fans of Ryan Holiday, the Daily Stoic, and those lessons that have helped us a lot. And so both of us were like, amor fati. This must have been what was supposed to happen, and
exactly.
it was insane. So anyway, that's been something I carried with me throughout this year, and it's been huge. And also you before we go, I know we talked about not going over like an hour, but
this has been a flow of amazingness. So
it
I'm
really
into
has. And, you came into my life, and I got to say, it's probably one of my biggest gifts this year. I was coming out of a time that was, I felt crazy. I felt lost. I felt like I couldn't relate to literally anyone. I was afraid. I was honestly afraid that I may stop relating to Dave, because I honestly felt so rocked off my, my orbit. And I had been following you. I had known you obviously through the Productivity Accelerator, and just some of your posts that I don't know which one it was, but there was one that you said about like, hey, if you think now's the time, it was something like, now's the time, And I honestly, I didn't have any other answers, and I didn't know what else to do, and I was so lost, and I was so afraid, and I was crying, and I was sad, and I was just honestly overwhelmed. I was so overwhelmed, and I didn't know what else to do, and I had moments that I thought, will I ever be normal again? Will I ever?
What is normal?
Well, now I'm like, hell, I'm glad not being normal, but I thought, will I ever be happy? Will I ever smile? I honestly, I just didn't know. And you made such a safe space for me, and you loved me in the times that I didn't think a person could possibly love me. And even just this year, our first episode of our podcast. I'm literally shaking. The first episode of the podcast, there was an issue with it, and I immediately blamed myself. I felt overwhelmed, and I was, I didn't know what to do, and I was like, oh, all over the place. And the way you received me then too, I was like, this is a friend. Fuck, I don't know that I've ever had a friend outside of Dave. I don't know that I've ever had a friend make me feel so loved and accepted. And I just love you, girl. I just love you. I'm so grateful for you. You're literally I would say, if there's the greatest gift this year, you're my greatest gift. Truly to God. The things I've done since I've met you, the way I felt empowered, the way I've stepped into my own, even just in the last few months, I honestly, I wouldn't be here without you. I'm not saying that I couldn't have done other things on my own, but where I am in this beautiful hotel with this, setup and this conversation with you, I mean, you charge me, you electrify me. I fucking am so grateful for you. Seriously. I just can't say enough. And now I'm sweating and I'm shaking. I'm
it
crying.
Clearly needed to come out.
It needed to come out.
I love
and so
it.
You're my soul sister, girls. Hey, sister soul. I was thinking about that song earlier, but anyway. That's all I'll say about that. That's my 2023 is going to be a great year.
Yes. Thank you so much. As I listen to you say that, I mean, same, right? Oh. We have done so much together, and you really light me up as well. And again, this is just like a beautiful dynamic and expression of love for people to witness, an expression of sisterhood, of family, not in the blood way, but in the soul way. And thank you for saying that. I've never been told that I am somebody's best gift. That is so
oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, it's true.
And as you were saying that, it's like, I was just thinking to myself, holy shit, that is all I want for people. That is all I want for people, is for people to feel safe and loved, and so that they can be who they really are, and then in return tap into their God-given talents and gifts, and then get fucking big.
Get big.
Blow the fuck up. And that's exactly what you're doing, and it's my mission. And so to see my mission fulfilled like over and over again is like, I don't think you guys know this, but I'm 27 years old, and nobody ever thinks that when they look at me. It's not like it's not like I radiate that young energy. I have a very like wise old crone within me. The maiden, the mother, and the crone, right? But all the archetypes. But to be able to sit here and to, number one, reflect on, I've really come into myself this year, fully. Like, I fully feel like myself. And to reflect on what I've done in such a short time, what you've done in such a short time, meaning how much time we have left and where we're going to go based off of what we've done in just this year alone. It's beyond my wildest dreams that I can sit here and say that I'm fulfilled. In my 20s.
That's so great.
It's beyond my wildest dreams. And that's why I love seeing younger women, younger individuals start even earlier than I did. Because you can be a millionaire by the time you're 18 years old if you want. And to reflect on how much growth we've had, and to know that it's kind of setting the tone of the trajectory that we're on, bro. We're about to pop off. We're already popping off. And moving into 2023, I wanted 2022 to be about leaving my relationship, and then boom, all of a sudden my business explodes, and it's exploded in many ways, but not to the point that my ego wanted. Knowing that I really needed to deep dive within to myself and heal all of these really sticky, ugly, scary wounds, so that this year is about momentum and doing every little thing, creating every little idea for my business, for our business, for our collaboration, for the people that are in alignment with our mission. Building momentum and passion. That's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing this year.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
Who's with me?
I'm with you.
Go
I
after
literally,
it. Yeah.
I put
if you have
my
an idea,
word,
go after it.
My word for 2023, I put Empress. That's
Exactly.
You had me pull that card once and just have it out, and it was so powerful for me, and in just embodying
the
all
Empress
the
card in
things.
tarot, everybody.
Oh yes, the Empress card in tarot, and so that's what I'm imagining. You know, when I close my eyes and I see myself, and yeah,
I see it. Building the empires.
Yes.
Building the empires and then merging the empires and building more with people. That's also what it is about. A lot this year is about collaboration and not needing to do it alone, and finding others and allowing others to find you that whose values and morals are in alignment and goals are in alignment with where you're going. There's so much collaboration coming in for us. So many sponsors. Let's get into scripting a little bit, right? So this is a way you can manifest, is by speaking your year out loud as if it's already happened, right? And you can do this by writing it down, writing a letter to the universe, like, dear universe. I'm just going to get into it, okay? I am so grateful for how much the podcast has grown, having multiple millions of followers and the sponsors that you are naturally guiding our way that are in alignment with our beliefs and our values as a team and as a podcast and as a platform, and reaching people that need it the most, reaching people that are in their darkest moments, that are confused about life or who they are or where they are or how to move forward, and to help people in those moments, to remind them through our words and through our experiences that we're not alone. I'm so grateful for my highly successful mastermind, my 2 to 3 retreats that I'm doing this year in South and Central America, and all of my clients that continue to funnel into my life that are in major alignment and willing to put in the work and the effort and the time and the money into themselves. I'm grateful for the soul family that continues to build and find us effortlessly, and being able to look into someone's eyes the first time and recognize that they're somebody from a past life and that they're here to help me, and vice versa in return help them. I'm grateful for the unlimited abundance and wealth and health that pours into my reality, into my bank account, into my family's and my friends' pockets because of the work that I'm doing. And the list continues to go on and on and on. So the opportunities continue to flow into our reality effortlessly and with magic.
I love that. I love that. And I'm so glad that you did that. That's like a really great way for people to see how that works and hear how that works.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
your universe,
really
ditto.
And the law. Yes. Thank you, 2023, for being the most expansive, abundant, beautiful year I have ever had in my entire life, and for only continuing to get better, continuing to surprise me in really positive ways. And I cannot wait to see how it continues to unfold.
Me too. Well, Dani,
beautiful.
What do you think? Do you think we did all we could for 2022 moving into 2023?
I think I did. Damn good.
You just took us to church. Now it's time to go have our Sunday dinner.
Yes, exactly. So we want to drop a little challenge for you guys to wrap up the year and to shift and flow into 2023. What do you want that challenge to be, Mo?
honestly, I think for me, I've been saying this a lot lately. I think it's really important to be super aware of the language you use when you speak to yourself. And I see a lot of people sharing memes online that are degrading to themselves, like, oh, I'm, like, for example, this is a silly one and it's funny, but it's like a picture and it says, if you know what this is, your back probably hurts. Things like that. It's silly and it's funny and we all laugh. But the fact is, the more you share, the more you think about and talk about things that limit you, like achy body or, or your age, or even just negative things that you might say to yourself, like, oh, well, I'm just an idiot, or, even little things like that, or, oh, my dad was somebody who had diabetes, so I'm sure I'll have diabetes, or whatever the thing may be, whether it's health or whether it's your intelligence level, anything that isn't kind to yourself, don't let it come out of your mouth. Don't if you think it, that's okay. Forgive yourself for thinking it, and then tell yourself right afterwards, I'm beautiful, I love myself, I'm worthy, I believe that I have beautiful gifts to share with the world, like you said. And so whether it's scripting or even just everyday language, the things that you share, the things that you consume, be aware of that this year. And that's my challenge, to really think about the way you talk to yourself and what you consume and identify as a truth, because you can change that.
Yeah, 100%. Can you do that for the next week? Do that for the next week. Try to catch yourself, or write out those affirmations that we talked about earlier. Repeat them for a week, and do your best to not let those derogatory remarks about yourself, or even self-deprecating humor.
Yeah,
Notice
exactly.
That.
Yeah. I used to be the queen of that. Yeah.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
I was just talking to someone about that the other night. Like, did you used to have self-deprecating humor, and how did you notice that you had it, and why did you start to shift that? Because that comes from insecurity.
It's for sure.
So, time to be secure, time to be confident. This is your year. So we challenge you to bring awareness to your language about self and about others, but mostly about you, because it starts with you. Start scripting your week with affirmations. Come back in a week, drop in the comments, drop in the rating section, whatever it is. Message us on IG, TikTok. Come back and let us know how it's changed for you. And then do 2 weeks, and then do 3 weeks, and then a month. At the end of that month, you could have an entirely new belief system.
Exactly.
It's that easy.
It really is.
So we challenge you.
You've been challenged.
Yeah. You have. You have been challenged.
You have been challenged. Man, I feel like I need a sound
proud
effect.
of you.
We are.
You have been challenged. Yeah, let's wrap it up by saying, like, we are so proud of you. 2022 was not an easy year for anybody. And you are here for a reason in this community, because we're here to support you. We're here to affirm you. We're here to validate you. We're here to lovingly call you the fuck out with love and redirect you in ways that you need. So we are incredibly proud of you. We see you. We love you. And please feel free to reach out to either of us whenever you so choose.
Perfect.
You're not alone.
Yeah. That was beautiful, Dani. Thank you so much for all that you have brought into my life, and then also just for all the gifts that you're going to be sharing in 2023. I'm excited to hear it, because, what's fun about these conversations is I learn every time we have a conversation, and so it's always fun. I always look forward to it.
Yeah, of course. Stay tuned for the retreats in South and Central America. You are not going to want to miss those. That is where you will be able to, if you have never experienced a loving, supportive community and level of connection, you are going to in those retreats. And that's going to really open new doors for you. And you will experience incredible healing and expansiveness. So
yeah. Oh, and by the way, I want to talk to you about the retreats, because I have some freaking amazing ideas, for real. I was going crazy the other night writing some things out. Anyway, it's very exciting, and I think you're going to love them. So anyway, well, thank you, Dani.
2022. we out of 2022.
Like I said it all. I dropped it. The mic drop.
I said it all. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I said it all.
Well, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you, if you would like, we would love to hear from you. Please rate, and because that helps more people find it. And then, of course, share it with a friend. If this really touched you, honest to God, you know how many people share podcasts with me? And I love it. And I find new information. So share the podcast, comment if you'd like. And we just appreciate you for being here. So,
yeah, thank you.
Awesome. We'll see you guys.